Hello everyone! Welcome to Reddit Reactions, where real people read and react to Reddit comments. Today's Ask Reddit question I picked is, what is the best memory you have with your dad? I like learning about dads and stuff because my dad died when I was a kid, and I find that there's a lot about life and people's experiences that I just don't necessarily understand because I didn't go through that because of that fact, right? So it's always good for me to learn what people with fathers' memories and experiences tend to be. So I'm excited. First reply is, there was this one time when he was not at home. I have a feeling a lot of these comments are going to be about dads not being present. That definitely seems to be a trend. My understanding is the best thing you can do as a father, as a kid who lost their dad, is just spend time. Because I don't hate my dad at all. Yeah, he did something that caused his death. He could have avoided his death, but he was very loving with me. He spent a lot of time with me as a kid. He was my hero, and I was very lucky to have that time because in the 12 years I had my father alive, I got more quality time with him than most people, a lot of people, not most, but a lot of people get in their whole lives. So I can't complain about that. Alright, this reply by NarrowChem to, what's the best memory you have with your dad? My dad and I had a sort of rough relationship when I was a child. But one of my favorite memories is when I was around 5 or 6, and we laid on the living room floor and colored a troll's coloring book together. He colored the troll's hair purple and pink, and he gave it to me and wrote, "Love, Dad," at the bottom. I kept it for a long time, but unfortunately lost it after a few years. He never ever did those kind of things with me, so I remember it really fondly. Oh, surprise, surprise, this person's dad didn't spend enough time with them. I bet that's a recurring theme. Well, my dad left me and my mom when I was really young. Then one day, I think it was my 13th birthday, he was at my house with a cake and an Xbox 360. I never saw him again. Some people would give crap to that dude for showing up and just giving a gift and not coming back. But I mean, if I was a kid and I had two choices, one was no daddy, and the other one was no daddy except the one day he came over and gave me a gaming console. I prefer the option with the gaming console personally. But either way, it doesn't take away the hardship, but maybe it numbs it a bit. I was planting new flowers in our front garden with him, the comment's father, for Mother's Day. He glanced over to me with a smirk and said, "So I guess this is one of those father-son moments, huh?" That really stayed with me because it actually was. You see, that's the kind of stuff I love. I love learning about those little moments. Because my dad's dead, but I remember moments like that. I remember sitting on his lap when he was trying to get me interested in Pink Floyd and old rock, and I didn't give a fuck about music. I remember that, and it was sweet. I remember him trying to teach me guitar, or teaching me how to cook crepes, or teaching me how to flip the pancakes with your wrist instead of a spatula. I remember lots of things, so in some ways, I got to experience death, but I wasn't robbed of the life, right? Honestly, it was kind of a sad moment, but I was 5 and came home from school to find my dad home. He asked if I wanted to go for a drive, and we went to this little old country store and drove around this really secluded wooded area for a while. He told me some bad news, that my mouse, Lucky, had died, my first pet ever. And he just comforted me when I cried. He didn't blow off my sadness because she was just a mouse. He just let me feel what I needed to feel. It's not the only good memory or moment that I've had with him, but it still makes me feel happy knowing he took my grief seriously at that moment. Oh, this is sweet. Honestly, I have millions, but probably the day he finally showed that he'd overcome his homophobia and gave my boyfriend a birthday present. Oh, that's so. Oh, I'm totally gonna cry reading these. I don't really cry from sad stuff about dads, but anytime I see something happy or somebody, I guess it's like when I see somebody appreciating their father and the time they have, that's such a beautiful thing. It's really that's what gets me to tear up and cry. It's not so much like really sad stuff. Sometimes he'd whip out his high school trumpet for some practice, which was a series of blunt, shitty toots that you could hear from anywhere in the house. He'd get all giddy about it. Miss you, Pops. Ooh, a long post by Delusional Engineer. The best distinct memory I have is from when I was in 3rd or 4th grade. I was spending the summer in a daycare next to his work, and he would pick me up sometimes to go flying out of a nearby airport. He was a recreational pilot at the time. I, being a huge fan of dinosaurs, would always carry a stuffed animal with me when I left the house. The species of dino would change day to day, but I always had one with me when we went flying. When we were in the air, my dad would have me put the dino up in the plane's dash and then angle the plane down. Little me always thought it was the absolute coolest thing when the dino would lift off the dash and float back to me. Normally, we'd stay up for half an hour to an hour, cruising around to look at our house, my school, any other landmarks I could recognize at that age. Man, I miss that. Nowadays, I'm off at college and barely get to see my family. The best recent memory I have of us was when we were working on stuff together over winter break. We each had our own projects, a 3D printer for me and a CNC machine for him. But we were sharing a table, and it was great to just spend time around him. That is so beautiful. Oh, I like the dinosaur thing. That seems like a movie moment. Oh, that's so cute. I never had that kind of experience with my father about working on something with them, but I'm a person where I'm not able to socialize for long amounts of time unless I have like stuff to do or something like in front of me to occupy my attention. So it would be really awesome to share like work spaces. I like that but it only works with certain people, because some people like they just don't know how to focus in general. So like they don't realize that they're making it very hard for other people to focus because they're constantly making it hard for themselves to focus. But if you got a good environment, you got some good people, good kind of team, you know how to work together and influence each other, that sounds awesome. Oh, another long post. I love these. So many good memories. In the years after I moved in with him, in the aftermath of my parents' divorce, my dad and I had a tradition of turning off all the lights in the house and going to Starbucks to play Scrabble every single Halloween. I'd kick his ass, and he was always a good sport about it. Those were really fun and special nights. I was obsessed with Monopoly too, but he didn't have the patience to play a full game with me. So he promised that he would play only if we ever had a really rainy weekend. I grew up in Southern California, and we don't get many rainy afternoons, let alone rainy weekends. Well, lo and behold, I got my rainy weekend 1 year before 2006, and we played over 12 hours of Monopoly, just the two of us. We would solve Encyclopedia Brown mysteries once a week too, and that tradition evolved into weekly movie nights when I got a bit older. Now that I live abroad, we take a road trip each year when I visit. Sedona in September is heavenly. I'm almost in tears writing this. I didn't realize I had these memories. Oh, these are I'm loving this. This is making me feel great. There's something about, like, I think when a person's really happy, you're able to cry a little bit about things that are amazing. And if you can do that, but you don't, like, lose your composure, you know, if you can get yourself to that point, life's a lot easier. The strongest people are those who can cry with confidence and maintain their composure in front of others. I think so, at least, because that's the hardest thing to do, you know? Anyone can cry alone. Anybody can hide their pain and drown it in alcohol and all sorts of other goodies, right? A lot of people do, but that doesn't mean that's the more challenging option. Sometimes these things are just the path of least resistance. Oh, Oh, nice. Oh, okay, not nice, but this one is, my dad died when I was 7. My dad died when I was 11 or 12, so I vibe with you there. So not a lot of memories, but 2 things stand out. Dancing with him. He never enjoyed dancing, but he would do anything for his wife and kids. I remember standing on his feet, him holding me, and us dancing. The second, we stayed in a small town for a couple of years before he died. My sister had an athletic event in a different town, so we all went to support her. It had been cold that morning, so I was dressed appropriately. But it got really hot in the other town. My dad took me to the department store and bought a whole new outfit, so I wouldn't be uncomfortable in the heat. Oh, I just had a flashback. Oh, okay, so yeah, here's I can answer this question in a very similar fashion and length to these people. So I'm going to share a memory I had about my father when he was trying to cheer me up, okay? And my dad he was good at cheering me up. Honestly, he really was. I see now that I'm able to cheer people up kind of because my mom was just blindly positive and optimistic about anything related to me and my childhood, so it made me kind of ignorantly positive, but that ended up, I kept that positivity and eventually kind of lost a lot of the ignorance, right? But my father, he was better at figuring out how to get in my head and cheer me up and distract me, right? So I don't know what I was frustrated or sad or worried about. I tended to worry a lot about death. I went through phases where I was convinced a black widow was going to bite me in the middle of the night and I was going to die, and I was scared. so I was a weird kid. But this was a time where McDonald's had those Happy Meal toys, right? And they had an Inspector Gadget toy, and I fucking loved, I can't curse like that. I loved Inspector Gadget. So I was all about that. And you normally had to buy 5 Happy Meals to get a toy, right? And we weren't poor, but most of my friends and stuff, their families had more money, if that made sense. We weren't we got by. But so I wasn't really, at least as a kid, I didn't feel like a person who was spoiled. I had good access to things from an international perspective. But from a US perspective, it wasn't very common for me to get a whole lot of things that I liked. At least not from my mother, but my father would spoil me sometimes. And so because I wanted this Inspector Gadget toy, one day I remember he went into a McDonald's and he got 5 or 6 Happy Meals because he was convinced that would be enough to get the whole figure, right? But then it was really funny because it ended up just being all the right arm of Inspector Gadget, because apparently the way it works then is that each McDonald's got one of the toys. So they wanted to encourage people to go to different McDonald's to get the different toys, basically. So we ended up with just a bunch of the same one, but it worked. It's funny that I didn't get the thing I wanted, but because as a kid, I could tell that my dad was just trying to make me happy. Sometimes, even if the thing he was trying to do didn't work, that act, I could tell, I could feel that that's what he was going for, and that would really get to me, and it would make me smile. And even just remembering that's awesome. That's what's so amazing about the modern era, right? My dad's dead. I can't connect with him. I can't have moments in that way, and I could tell myself it's impossible, right? But the reality is, just reading this story about this other person online out loud made me have a flashback to remembering a moment, and in some ways that is connecting. That's the same as remembering a moment with someone who's alive. You're re-experiencing that, right? Embellishing it a bit. All right, everybody. That's everything for today. If you want to make these kind of videos where you react to content showed on your screen while you're recording it, please reach out to us. Go to our YouTube channel, click on the About page, go to For Business Inquiries to contact us and say hello. We want to set up a Zoom call with you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Ciao!